In the effort to squeeze another video idea from the semi-functional cluttered mess of misfiring neurons, I decided to go on a little journey to explore one of those perfectly normal questions that perhaps you too have asked yourself at some point. If civilization were to collapse due to, I don't know, zombies or an invasion of Canada geese? This is not a joke, I'm risking life and limb just to show you this footage. A catastrophic solar flare that brings down the internet so you can't doom scroll and watch porn anymore. Where should you go to prepare? Which store would best equip you to protect yourself? Costco, Superstore, Walmart, Canadian Tire, Kent. Spirit Halloween. Just kidding, not for this. But you bet your pumpkin spice latte I'm going in there. In case it's not obvious, this is purely for entertainment purposes, nerding out on silly hypotheticals for fun, not to be taken seriously. Of course, Costco would be good for food supplies and other important things like generators. But do they have anything that would help defend against zombie geese or dystopian corporate militias? Kinda. It's pretty big. No. Almost. But these are way too light. Better. So, obviously steel golf clubs are made for repeated impacts, albeit on extremely light targets. I wouldn't be surprised if it bent from hitting something well over 1,000 times heavier than a golf ball, but they feel pretty sturdy and most definitely unpleasant to be on the receiving end of. Getting whiplash from seeing barbecue stuff, Halloween decorations, and Christmas all at the same time. I don't expect much at Superstore because it's mostly groceries, but we'll see. You'd have to be desperate to consider pots and pans. That would probably break fairly soon. And cast iron would definitely shatter on impact. So, maybe as armor, kind of strap a flat pan to your chest or something. Maybe. Maybe if you used a crazy number of layers of plastic wrap or aluminum foil. That might be somewhat protective, but I doubt it. Unless it's a truly absurd number of layers. Maybe with glue in between, that tends to help. Generally, a cleaver would be excellent, but this is very short. You see, reach is crucial. If you let the geese get that close, it's all over. Next is Walmart. Now you might be thinking, oh, that's easy, they have guns and ammo. The one in this location used to, but doesn't anymore for some reason. I suppose we could build an improvised warhammer with one of these, but let's stick to things that are ready to go. The PVC equipment mat could be almost ready to go improvised armor. We just need to cut it up, layer some panels, and wrap them in duct tape. Not bad, but again, super short. I have to do a little more voiceover than expected because you can actually hear the music they're playing in the background and YouTube does not approve of that at all. Anyway, so motorcycle helmets are very protective, obviously. Bicycle helmets, not so much, but still better than nothing. Just not very durable because they're designed to crack on impact and dissipate the force that way. I think post-apocalyptic movies and games are onto something. A few layers of tire rubber should be pretty decent as improvised armor. Sure, hockey sticks would be the most Canadian way to defend yourself, while flinging Timbits perhaps. They're not good for eating anyway. But these all feel awfully light and flimsy. Same as the ones at Costco. And here we've got the most stereotypical improvised weapon, the good old baseball bat. That one in particular feels a little light. Obviously you don't want anything too heavy, and this slugger definitely ain't sluggish, but there is such a thing as too light. The metal ones feel even lighter and are probably not super durable. I mean, they wouldn't break like wooden ones, but you'd probably put some serious dents in these hollow baseball bats. For the ratings, I'm gonna go with these specific ones, even though they're much more solid baseball bats. Skateboards, that would be a little unorthodox, but might work. Just a little awkward to grip for striking. But I suppose you could take the wheels off and strap it to the arm as an improvised shield. Just a silly little idea. They seem pretty rugged. Ranged weapons would of course be useful, but these kitty bows with puny draw weights, not so much. Slingshots, well, not super powerful, but a deterrent at least. Now, I know, there are powerful slingshots out there, but these are not particularly impressive. Easy to carry, and you could potentially pick up rocks as ammo off the ground. Halloween, Christmas. It's early September.
Get this out of here.
That's a good size. Built-in knife sharpener. Ruins the blade every time you pull it out. That Walmart is currently being renovated, so not the best timing. They didn't have a lot of tools, but these hammers would be alright, especially the large ones. That's pretty much an indestructible option. The only downside is the short length, and I do value reach quite highly. Wrenches are not bad, they come in all kinds of sizes, but overall worse than a hammer because it's a less effective striking surface and hammers have much better handles. Screwdrivers make for improvised weapons if you got a screw loose, but there are better options than these. This flashlight is even marketed with the implication of self-defense use, although I've tested a self-defense baton style flashlight before and it didn't go terribly well. And there it goes. This one might be sturdier, but it's weirdly thick, to the point where it's difficult to wrap the fingers around for a good grip unless you have very large hands. Well, I suppose if you're fighting elder millennials like me, you can throw a nostalgia grenade to distract them. Canadian Tire feels a bit like cheating for this challenge, if you want to call it that, because they do have actual fighting knives and machetes and hunting bows, broadhead arrows, and yeah, actual firearms and ammo. But that's a no-brainer, so I want to focus more on the improvised weapons side of things. Not a good option, realistically, but I imagine hitting something with such a large wire brush would hurt quite a bit. Generally forks would be quite good, but this one is very short. Shovels may look like a good option, but they're awfully thin and curved. If anything, spades are a better option. I mean, it's also quite thin. I've talked about pickaxes before. Obviously devastating if you hit, but that's a big if, considering how heavy and clumsy most of them are. Not super hard to dodge. Although it depends, there are lighter ones. This one here feels a lot better. That would actually be a pretty good compromise between power and speed. One important factor I'm omitting here, how easy it is to carry these, especially carry as in wear on your person. But characters in post-apocalyptic movies and games generally don't seem to care about that. If we ignore that problem, then these canoe paddles become really good. The longest ones have extreme reach, great leverage, and you can strike with the edge. The only question is the wood good enough? As long as they don't split or break, you're good. You could definitely crack some zombie heads with that. You could also block and parry quite well with them. The wider ones might even work as a shield against projectiles. If made of proper hardwood, that'd be better than a quarterstaff. I suppose you could wrap them in Gorilla Tape for added strength. Invincible? Can't be hurt if you bonk them way before they can reach you. Well, there's some armor. These work quite well. You can use these for HEMA sparring as well, although they're not ideal. They're much better options, but if that's all you have, will protect your hands. Steel pipe, especially with a wooden dowel inside. Pretty good. Just mean hand shock. These poplar dowels are no good. They break easily. Ask me how I know that. This is not the only time that happened either. Maybe a really thick one, but otherwise not so much. I've talked about the problems with chainsaws. Electric ones are a little better in that way, but still, you're going to run out of power or gas either way, and they are not exactly handy to lug around. When it comes to screwdrivers, this is one hell of an improvised dagger. Quite solid, and especially that other one is huge. That would probably even work for striking. Axes are an obvious choice, although splitting axes and mauls have the pickaxe problem. They can be quite clunky. I'm not even sure I want to rate these because it depends so much on which axe you pick. You know what? Let's go with a smaller one. That seems like a good compromise. I have to say, out of everything here, my favorite may actually be the brush hook. I mean, there's a reason they turned this thing into a medieval polearm. This version is pretty short, but it's basically a hybrid between a machete and a sickle. In other words, bad news. Sledgehammers, not as good as you may think. Imagine a game of whack-a-mole if the moles are on amphetamines and try to shank you with something much quicker. This demolition tool is like a slightly longer hammer, but it has some extras that will make it particularly brutal up close. Mostly the same rating as a longer hammer, a bit better. Chisels? Yeah. Ow. And of course the classic crowbar. Gordon Freeman approves. Jason Todd does not. These come in all kinds of sizes, so reach and speed can be very different. I'm gonna go with a fairly large one. And Kent, the second closest cheat code to a store that sells guns, the large hardware store. This one looks brutal, but feels light and flimsy. It's quite a large edger up there. Would be like a Shaolin spade if it wasn't quite so thin. Machete, that's a no-brainer. That hatchet is a bit longer, which is better, but I've had fiberglass handles break on me, so a little skeptical. I've shown before how effective saw blades are as improvised and perfectly legal throwing stars, but they don't fit very well into these ratings, unless you carry an entire stack of them, I guess, if you want to go for the buzz kill. This torque wrench has got potential, fairly long, solid, and with some extra mass on one end, but I really think it needs a cushioned handle, otherwise there might be some self-damage. Earlier at Canadian Tire I saw one with a rubber handle, so that would be the better version. I'm gonna go with that. Yeah, that's a little short, maybe. The pickaxe has its downsides, kind of min-maxing, but a pickaxe handle is not bad. It's got a bit of reinforcement and extra mass on top. May not hit like a truck exactly, but it sure is quicker and more agile. Otherwise, there are of course more of the same things we've seen earlier. I was actually expecting Kent to be the best option, with a much larger variety of tools, but I feel like Canadian Tire takes this one, because there are also so many sporting goods, including decent armor. Let me know what you think. What are your favorites? Well, I have to admit, I didn't check every single aisle, and I meant to go to Home Depot as well, but my foot is killing me. Plantar fasciitis is no joke. Maybe I shouldn't have gone to Spirit as well in between, but come on, a man's gotta have priorities. Distractable? Me? I don't know what you're talking about.